This is a video that will help you find the surface area of a cylinder. The surface area, which is represented by a capital SA, is the area of the top of the cylinder, the bottom of the cylinder, and also the sides of the cylinder. Another way to think of it is that the surface area is the number of squares it would take to cover the whole cylinder. When you take your MCA test this spring, they'll give you a formula for surface area. The formula is going to be surface area is equal to P times H plus 2B. But in order to use that formula, you have to understand what each of these letters mean. SA is just the surface area. P stands for the perimeter. And when I mean perimeter, I'm talking about the perimeter of the base. Well, the base of a cylinder is just a circle. And the perimeter of a circle is going to be its circumference. So P stands for the circumference of the base, or the circumference of the circle on the top or bottom. The letter 8 stands for the height of the cylinder, and that's that length right there. And the letter B, capital B, stands for the base, or the area of the base of the cylinder. Well, again, a cylinder has a base that's a circle. So capital B is just going to be the area of that bottom or top circle. Here's a video that shows how the surface area of a cylinder is formed. Notice when you take apart a cylinder, you get two circles and a rectangle. It's easy to see where the two circles come from. The circle up on top, that's going to be the top circle of your cylinder. The circle on the bottom, that's going to be the bottom base of your cylinder. But where do we get the rectangle's dimensions? Well, the height is easy to see. That's just going to be the height of the cylinder. But this 2 pi r, that's the one that's a little bit more difficult to see. I want you to understand that 2 pi r is the same thing as the diameter, because 2 times r is equal to the diameter, and diameter times pi is equal to, yeah, that's right, the circumference. Let me put the cylinder back together and watch how this red line is formed to make the circumference of the top base. It's a little bit quick, but you can still see how that works. This red line is the circumference of the top, or the circumference of the base. Let me do it again and watch how this red line becomes the length of the rectangle, and the height is going to become the base of that rectangle. Now, the cool thing to understand is the area of a rectangle is just going to be the length times the height. So I'm going to take 2 times pi times r times the height to get the area of this rectangle, and I have a pi r squared up here and a pi r squared down here on the bottom. Let's look at the very next problem here. I have a picture, and this picture is a picture of a soup can. Another way to think of surface area is going to be the area that it would take to cover that whole soup can. Now on the top, you have a circle of a soup can, and the bottom, that's where my 2 pi r comes from, or 2 pi r squared. That's where that comes from, the top circle and the bottom circle. The sides, or the label, this length across the top would be what wraps around the can. So that's going to be diameter times pi, or 2 pi r. The height is just going to be the height of that cylinder. Let's do a couple problems now. First problem I'm going to do, I have a radius of 3 on the top circle, or the base, and a height of 8. Now whenever I do these problems, I always start with writing the formula, substituting, solving, and labeling. I do the exact same thing for these. So the first thing I'm going to do is write my formula down. And the formula the MCA test is going to give us is surface area is equal to pi times h, or p times h, not pi, but p times h plus 2b. Next, I'm going to change this p to the circumference, because p is the perimeter of the base, and the base is a circle, so I want to find the circumference of that circle. So I'm going to write it like this. Surface area is equal to circumference times height plus 2 pi r squared, because I need two bases, and the area of a base is pi r squared because it's a circle. Next, I'm going to substitute in, well actually next I'm actually going to change circumference to diameter times pi. And I'm going to leave the rest of it the same. Next, I'm going to replace the diameter, the height, and the radius with the lengths that those three are in this picture. Well, the radius is 3, and if the radius is 3, the diameter is all the way across the circle, so that has to be 6. So I have 6 times pi times 8, which is the height, plus 2 times pi times 3 squared, because r is 3. Next, I'm going to square the 3, and I'm going to get surface area is equal to 6 times pi times 8 plus 2 times pi times 9. Next, I'm going to multiply around the pi, and when I do that, I'm going to get 48 pi plus 18 pi. I got 48 pi by 6 times 8 is 48, and I'm not doing anything with the pi, and 2 times 9 is 18. Now if I add my pi's up together, I'm going to get 66 pi, because 48 plus 18 is 66, and that's going to be centimeters squared. Another way to look at that is I can multiply 66 times 3.14, and I'm going to get 207.24, and that's also going to be centimeters squared. I'm going to do one more problem. This problem, I'm going to know the diameter and the height, and I'm going to need to find the surface area. So I start it the exact same way. I write the formula down. Surface area is equal to P times H plus 2 pi. I'm going to replace the P with circumference, because P stands for the perimeter of the base, and the base is a circle, so it's going to be surface area is equal to circumference times H plus 2 pi r. I'm going to change the circumference to diameter times pi, so its surface area is equal to diameter times pi times H plus 2 pi r squareds. And this is going to be the sides or the label, and the 2 pi r squareds are the two circles, one on the top and one on the bottom. Now I'm going to replace my diameter with 3, my height with 5, and my radius is going to be half of 3, which is 1.5. And I get surface area is equal to 3 pi times 5 plus 2 pi times 1.5 squared. Next, just like before, I'll square the 1.5 and get 2.25. Notice everything also staying the same. Now I'll multiply around the pi, and I get 3 times 5 is 15 pi. 2 times 2.25 is 4.5 pi. If I add up all the pi together, I get 19.5 pi, and that's also going to be centimeters squared, because I need to make sure I have my units. Or another way to write that is if I multiply 19.5 times 3.14, I get 61.23, and my units are going to be centimeters squared.